All right, let's jump right in. Today we're diving into a really fascinating explainer of Xu Lifeng's 2025 text, Walking the Path of Celestial Beings and Buddhas, A Life Beyond Adversity. This text offers a profoundly structured framework for basically reframing hardship so we can find absolute freedom in our lives. If you've ever felt totally overwhelmed by the daily grind, trapped by your circumstances, or just sidelined by some sudden hardship, well, you are in the exact right place today. We're going to visually unpack how shifting your internal perspective can literally alter your external reality. Let's get started. So what if I told you that your greatest life struggles might just be illusions? I know, it sounds a bit out there, but this opening thought really challenges us right out of the gate to completely rethink our daily battles. I mean, it's totally human nature to blame the outside world when things go south, right? A toxic coworker or a sudden financial hit, whatever. But this text, it asks us to pause. It tells us to look inward for the fix. It's suggesting that the friction we're feeling isn't actually coming from the world around us, but rather from the lens we're using to view it.
Okay, moving right into section 1, the root of adversity and how ego creates our reality. Now, there is a super fascinating dynamic at play here. When you look at the path of ego and self-interest, it basically guarantees adversity and fear. The text literally says that when desire and greed take the wheel, heaven turns into hell. But then you contrast that with this concept of no self. By letting go, by just flowing with destiny, the journey suddenly turns into this vast panorama of beauty. Actually, the source material notes something incredible. It says that without craving, even the edge of a cliff becomes a stage for a dance. It's a night and day comparison showing how our internal state completely dictates our reality. It's the difference between a personal prison built by ego and the boundless freedom of just letting go. This is absolutely crucial to grasp. Adversity, ease, they're really just reflections of the heart. Even in a situation as extreme as being in a literal prison, your physical environment is totally secondary to your emotional state. By transforming the heart and dissolving that fear, the text argues that literally anyone can become a celestial being, someone who experiences zero adversity because their inner world is simply untouchable.
Let's look at section 2, Understanding Cause and Effect and the Impartial Tao.
So look at this breakdown. Notice the direct, one-to-one correlation between how we understand the universe and what we emotionally experience. If you understand cause and effect, you taste sweetness in all things. Simple as that. On the flip side, if you ignore cause and effect, you just end up burning with resentment, endlessly swimming against the current. But here's where the magic happens. When we taste the bitter fruit, it dissolves the roots of karma. Just ask yourself for a second, how might your current struggles actually be the necessary bitter fruits you have to taste right now to dissolve past karma and grow? It completely flips the script, turning pain into this powerful tool for spiritual cleansing. Building on that exact idea, the text outlines the nature of heaven's net. It says the Tao is perfectly just and impartial, and this net is vast and flawless, meaning absolutely no one escapes reward or retribution. Because of this perfect cosmic accounting system, the text drops this radical piece of advice. Meet all encounters with joy. Crazy, right? But why? Because nothing happens without a cause in a flawless system. Even your worst days have a precise calculated purpose. Once we realize this, we can genuinely learn to meet every single encounter with joy, knowing for a fact that it's perfectly calibrated for our own personal journey.
Which brings us to section 3, Retreating to the Soul and the Three Fortresses.
I absolutely love this part because it is so incredibly practical. When life puts us under siege, we're given a literal roadmap to shift our scenery. Step 1, if the material world turns harsh, you just move into the spiritual world. You pivot your focus. But what if your thoughts and emotions are a total mess too? Well, that brings us to step 2. If the spiritual realm is under siege, you abide in the soul. It's basically like falling back into increasingly fortified inner sanctuaries whenever the outer walls of your life get breached. So what exactly is that final fortress? It's the soul. The soul is completely untouched by other people and totally untouched by circumstance. It's this boundless space where thought just roams free. Inside this sacred inner fortress, all the disappointments, all the chaos of the outer world, they just fade away into illusions. The text points out that whether you're hungry, locked up, or actively under attack, this core part of your being remains 100% free. It's such an empowering realization. You literally always have a safe room. Moving on to section 4, Overcoming Fear of Death and Confronting the Ultimate Test. Now, Xu Feng doesn't pull any punches here. He uses this intensely striking, wild metaphor to push us to the absolute extreme edge of worldly terror. It poses a really deep question.
If you can maintain your inner fortress in the face of a literal demon pointing a weapon at you, what could a bad commute or some annoying office politics possibly do to shake you? And get this, here is how the text says you should respond to that demon. Go ahead. Thank you for fulfilling my journey. Wow. That response is where the true power is. It's a complete and utter surrender that strips the fear of death of all its power. By thanking the threat, you take your agency right back. You're fully accepting the flawless nature of the Tao we talked about earlier, recognizing that even this final, terrifying moment has a profound purpose. And this boils everything down to a stark, ultimate choice. On one hand, being totally unafraid of death allows you to see the beauty in literally every single step of life's path. On the other hand, if you fear death and try to flee from it, you're doomed to live as a slave and ultimately regret your days. By putting these two mindsets side by side, it's super clear. Accepting our ultimate end is paradoxically the only way to live without being a slave to fear. Finally, we reach Section 5, the ultimate nirvana, and the Heart Sutra. Pulling directly from the ancient Heart Sutra, this defines nirvana as something achieved by relying on prajna paramita, which basically just translates to perfect, supreme wisdom. When your mind is operating on that level of wisdom, it's completely free from fear and illusion. The text brings up the enlightened being Avalokiteshvara, who realized that the 5 skandhas, those basic physical and mental building blocks that make up our ego, are actually entirely empty. When you truly realize that the ego itself is empty, there's literally no hindrance left to hold you back. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to really think about this. What are you willing to let go of today to find your own boundless space? Think about what ego, what attachment, or what specific fear you can just drop right now. It could be some tiny resentment you're holding on to, or maybe a massive life anxiety. Whatever it is, just remember that by letting it go, you have the immediate power to transform your own personal prison into a radiant landscape. I'm going to leave you with this incredibly powerful final mantra of awakening straight from the text. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhi svaha, which beautifully translates to gone, gone, gone beyond, gone far beyond, awakening, hail. This mantra is an invitation to journey completely beyond your adversity and step into the absolute freedom of the soul. The map has been drawn for us. The choice is entirely yours. Are you ready to go beyond?